Hello! So about a week ago, I sat down at my desk and decided I'm gonna make a new game. That game ended up being called Bonk Universe, which is like a game of Terraria and Bonk.io combined. So for this entire week, I spent about 12 hours a day for 7 days just focusing on the world generation, and nothing but the world generation. So I'm going to take you on my journey through this week, show you what I've got, and show you some funny moments along the way. And then I'll show you exactly how this works step by step, so make sure to watch to the end. Anyway, enjoy! After countless hours, the world is now a bunch of dirt in space. That's boring. Yeah, so next up, I invented rock. Except now the world is sideways. That's okay, we can fix it. Oh, and it's upside down. The world is now a big rock in space. Did you catch that? I just made a jump. I went from here to there. You can now go through the planet, around the planet, and it's not a circle or a square. The world isn't flat, but instead, the world is a plus. And we just jumped a huge distance. Today I added a bunch of different stone types, like slate, marble, granite, diorite, and a few others. And I also added ores to the game. There are way too many, and I'll balance it later. I also needed a way to store worlds, so I made this new file format. Instead of using a JSON file or a data file, I made my own. It's called a GTFO file, and it stores the data very nicely. The entire world is about a kilobyte, and it will only store the changes you make to the world. So, world size will stay pretty small. The first thing I did today was add caves. Caves are expansive and quite fun to traverse. Some of them are long noodles, while other ones are quite big and chunky. The next thing I tried doing was to break up the textures a bit. Now you can't see this because I am recording from a later version, but all of the tiles were facing the same way. So I took a few and rotated them. The first time I tried doing this, I ended up with this bug, which rotated it every single frame. Then I tried adding some small oceans, and oh, severe flooding alert, the entire world is now an ocean. Oceans took quite a while to get right, but soon enough they were working and not floating above the world, somehow. I then added trees, which took a surprisingly long amount of time to get working. The lag. Then finally I got a tree that was tree-shaped. And then for today, I added new world gen features, like new biomes and new options for generation. The world still felt pretty samey with only one biome, so I added new biomes, new atmosphere color, and new ocean types. So you saw, there was a lava ocean, regular ocean, icy ocean, and for pretty rare cases, you can find acid worlds. And I won't tell you how to find these worlds, because it's funny. Same thing with cheese worlds. Since the moon is made of cheese, and the average temperature on the moon is negative 63 degrees, therefore, any world that's negative 63 degrees is made of cheese. I also added block lighting, which was very difficult at the start, especially with flashbang lava going around everywhere. On the last day, I added a whole ton of different tree types and biomes, and I fixed pretty much all the problems from the previous days. I also made it multi-threaded, so your game would no longer lag when you load a giant tree. Speaking of trees, let's look at one right now. This is a cactus. It's just a bunch of different numbers, and it takes about 10 seconds to add a new tree type. It also only takes about 2 seconds to make a new block type or a biome, because again, it's just a bunch of numbers. So now a quick recap on how to build a world. First, you start with nothing, the void of space. Next up, you make the atmosphere. You get the temperature, you get the biome type for where you are, and during this time, the core of the planet is made. After that, you end up with just the stone height map and all of the top features. So there's a bunch of trees and water and some plants like flowers. A lot of these trees are invalid and will die pretty soon. So next up, you add top blocks like grass, dirt, and gravel, and this also is when some of the trees and plants get pruned from where they shouldn't be. Next up, we add ores and different stone types, and a lot more of the invalid trees will die. There's still some broken ones, and I need to fix this later. I was only given 1 week for myself for this video. And after that, we add caves to the world. These kind of just carve out pre-existing blocks. They kill more trees, and some of the other terrain gets even weirder. And once we finally have all this world, we can add lighting. And voila, we have a world. Now the last thing I'd like to show for now is the world generation options. So, instead of there being a seed, you can fully change the math equation that generates the world. So for example, this is sine x. It would create a wavy line, and in this case, it's a bit steep because the world compresses it and stuff, but we have a world that represents sine x. Now the biomes are still cutting the trees in half, but that's something I can fix later. Now sine x is a little boring, so if we switch to another one, if we change it again to sine x, and change the mountainness, or change the equation to be a bit more shallow, then as you can see, the world is more shallow, but it's still a sine wave. So there's this nice button to randomize it, and when you use this equation, or any of the gazillion other equations, you usually get something cool, like this. And this somehow looks like actual terrain. So yeah, that was my journey of making world generation from scratch in 1 week in Java. So now that I have a pretty decent world generator that I'm happy with, I can focus on a new part of the game, like the player character. This is going to be modeled off of Bonk.io. So you will be able to move around and you can attack by gaining mass. I also plan on adding some other stuff soon, like leaving the planet and going into outer space. And maybe some of the planets can even be controlled by their own player. So I got plenty of ideas. But yeah, thanks for watching, hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!